When it comes to FLR, I want to explain why I'm excited, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I'll talk about 25 cents later on in the video when it comes to, the price. But besides that point, when I take a look at something like FLR, why I'm so excited is because not too long ago, FLR made a post on X, and it said how FLR is the largest EVM, or should I say Ethereum virtual machine, DeFi, which stands for decentralized finance, ecosystem for XRP. Now again, if I just want to say it more simply, the largest EVM DeFi ecosystem for XRP. That's very massive because let's think about this, right? XRP not too long ago, market cap was around 200 billion, and we already kind of know that XRP sometimes gains attention when the space is doing pretty good, at least as of late. So if let's say XRP did way better, which wouldn't surprise me by the way, because reaching a market cap of around 200 billion, not even during an altcoin season, is very impressive. So if there was one, let's say during this cycle, what could it do? Only time will tell, but if it did way better than that, wouldn't surprise me. But even besides that, if XRP becomes a big narrative during an altcoin season, which wouldn't surprise me by the way if that was the case, and then yet we see something like FLR, which is supposedly the largest EVM DeFi ecosystem for XRP. Can't that at least, have some of the attention trickle down to it? That wouldn't surprise me because if that was the case, again, why would that surprise me? I mean, literally, right? If we take a look at something like FLR, it's not necessarily the most well-known project out there. But then I think it's kind of expected because I don't think I've seen an altcoin season during the cycle, because even though FLR as of right now has a market cap that is over $1 billion, in my opinion, it hasn't really become that mainstream yet. So if let's say XRP gained a lot of attention during an altcoin season, seeing something like this maybe gain some attention wouldn't necessarily surprise me. And what I find very impressive is that when it comes to FLR, they're really playing into that narrative, right, of XRP and stuff like this. And I think it's not such a bad thing. A lot of people like to say, oh, they're trying to piggyback off the attention of XRP. Well, again, I get it to a certain extent. But if something is the largest EVM DeFi ecosystem for XRP, I highly doubt that is just piggybacking off attention to a full extent, because if it's able to achieve that, that means it's actually delivered on some results. You know what I mean? Or not, how can it be the largest within that specific category that I mentioned before? Again, EVM DeFi ecosystem for XRP. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the way to take a look at it. And also, I feel like even though I am a fan of what FLR is doing, and even though I feel like, XRP still hasn't quite necessarily reached its ceiling during the cycle, even despite all that, I feel like something that works towards the advantage of FLR is that when it comes to XRP, the market cap is very massive, right? Even as of right now, it's above 100 billion. I mean, it's very massive. But not necessarily everyone wants to believe in a market cap that is that massive, or should I say a project that has a market cap that is that massive, because, sometimes people want to look for something else. Like when it comes to FLR, I get it. It doesn't have the smallest market cap out there, but it's way smaller. I mean, it's over 100 times less than XRP currently, right? Even despite that as well. Sometimes when let's say in a make-believe scenario, I take a look at XRP and I'm like, oh wow, the market cap is too massive. And then I take a look at maybe some alternatives, what is kind of indirectly in that sort of space, but then with a lower market cap, maybe something like FLR, because it is the largest, again, EVM DeFi ecosystem for XRP, supposedly. Or should I say, also allegedly. So yeah, when I take a look at that, I'm not telling you to do anything, but this is just my perspective, and even if, let's say, we don't even consider the XRP aspect when it comes to FLR at all, right? I still think that standalone, if let's say I didn't even know about that, I would feel like FLR is still a pretty impressive project in and of itself, because it is the blockchain for data. It is providing developers with decentralized access to data from other chains and the internet. It's an EVM, or should I say Ethereum virtual machine, smart contract platform with 2 data acquisition protocols, which I want to talk about the data connector, which is for trustless data proofs. And also there's something else called FTSO, which is the FLR time series oracle. When a project has those aspects, I highly doubt that it's kind of bad fundamentally, because I actually like it. Again, even if I didn't know anything about the XRP aspects when it comes to this, even that alone would get me pretty excited, because if I take a look at something like, again, the FLR time series oracle, and clearly I'm not telling you to do anything, but this is just my personal perspective. But if I take a look at, again, the FLR time series oracle, An oracle in this case is basically a data feed that brings data from off the chain, or should I say off-chain data, and it brings that data over into the blockchain. And the reason why I think this is very crucial is because a lot of decentralized applications out there, they can't function properly without, this off-chain data. And we've seen time and time again how Chainlink has been gaining that popularity and that momentum. And Chainlink is pretty much, I think, the biggest project out there that has an aspect of, an Oracle, because it is very well known for its decentralized Oracle network. But then when it comes to Flare, even just the FTSO part, again, the Flare time series Oracle, which is the native Oracle for Flare, even that alone would already get me pretty enthusiastic about Flare. Now on top of that, I see the aspects of, XRP to a certain extent, because again, I'm going to have to say this, even though it may sound a little bit like, okay, why do you keep saying it? But still, it is the largest EVM DeFi ecosystem for XRP. That's kind of like what I like seeing right there. A project that's fundamentally amazing, but then also has that aspect too. Again, I just like what I'm seeing overall. Now, sometimes you like to say, okay, 25 cents, it's around a 14x from here. But really, I think it's not that far off in the grand scheme of things. It's not like it's 30x away or 20x away. I get it, it doesn't mean it will happen, but at a market cap, considering current circulating supply of around 19 billion, it's nothing that would necessarily surprise me because, again, that's not even 10% of 200 billion. And XRP just not too long ago reached around 200 billion, and that's without altcoin season. So this can't even reach slightly under 10% of what XRP did not during an altcoin season if there, let's say, was an altcoin season, in which case maybe XRP even did a lot better than back then. Again, this market cap just wouldn't surprise me. That's the way to take a look at it. And also, something else that I think is kind of underrated when it comes to Flare is that its DeFi ecosystem is pretty impressive. Now, again, people like to take a look at the aspects of XRP and they like that, and also the DeFi aspect to a certain extent. Or should I say the decentralized finance aspect? However, again, if I just take a look at Flare solely and I take a look at the decentralized finance aspect of it, or should I say, kind of the growing DeFi ecosystem, it's kind of underrated sometimes. And I do like this aspect because if I take a look at the DeFi market, it is expected to be worth over $200 billion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. So that's pretty massive. Now, that's still ways away. 2030, I mean, come on, we're still in 2025. But the way I take a look at it is that, at least it shows kind of the progression, I think, of maybe what it could be. And I think it maybe kind of indicates what the narrative could be moving forward. Who knows? But I'm just saying. This is why I'm so excited when it comes to Flare. I haven't given up. Whenever there's going to be an altcoin season, that is totally beyond me, right? I can't make it happen. Do I want an altcoin season to happen? Absolutely. Do I want it to happen right now? If I could, yeah, sure, but I can't make that happen. The only thing I can do is just stay patient, hold, and wait, and literally that's it. If, let's say, there is even an altcoin season during the cycle, it's going to start whether or not I want it or not, right? It's not going to ask me, oh, how are you feeling today? Should we start an altcoin season? No. The market's not going to do that. It's going to do its thing. It's going to do whatever it wants to do whenever it feels like it, right? Like, I can't demand it to do this or do that. The only thing I can do is stay patient, hold, and then just wait. And that's personally what I'm doing. I'm not telling it to do anything, but by just me holding, if, let's say, the market does wake up suddenly for whatever reason, it's kind of like going along with the ride. So yeah, that's just kind of what I'm doing. I think that in and of itself is enough preparation for me. But all I can do is just wait for an altcoin season, dollar cost average, hold, and stay patient, and that's about it. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd greatly appreciate it, and I hope you all have a nice day. Thank you for watching. It's Willie the Captain, and I'll catch you all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.